This is Patty Hago. Welcome to the puppy interview. Actually, my version of the puppy interview, which is the senior dog interview. And we are featuring today's guest, Debbie, who is 12 years old, who does not want to get up right now, but she just wants to be petted. I will show you her in a moment. But I am going to answer some questions while she probably tries to crawl into my lap, but she's a Belgium Shepard. She's kind of a little bit too big to crawl into anybody's lap. Okay, let's get started. My biggest musical inspirations currently are BTS, and more specifically, I would say Yoongi, who's the one who actually got me into producing music in the first place about a little over 2.5 years ago now. I am also really inspired by Jimin. I would say Jimin not just because he writes his own songs, because he's been doing that pretty well lately, but also because of his very unique voice and how he's really made his voice stand out through using specific parts of the vocal toolbox. Doggy is currently just moving around and now she's lying on my foot. Top right. And I want to have a recognizable style as a vocalist too, so he's definitely somebody I look up to in that regard. And then we have Jungkook, who is also definitely somebody I look up to just because he's so insanely good at singing, and also at singing and dancing at the same time. Other inspirations, I have a lot of inspirations, generally speaking. Pink is also really inspiring. She has been very stable in the music industry for a very, very long time. Not that many artists can have that and can be that with such a presence. And Taylor Swift is definitely also somebody I look up to. She is incredible. She's incredible. I don't think I need to say anything more to that. I think everyone knows what's going on there. Those are some of my musical inspirations. I definitely have a lot more, but this is the condensed down version of it. Out of my songs, the song that is closest to my heart is March. And I know that the next question is about which song was hardest to put out. March is also the answer to that one. So I would say that one is very, very, very personal. Very personal, and it describes a time in my life that was really, really difficult. I would say that Retrophobia was kind of also a little bit difficult because it talks about trauma and childhood trauma and some really tough times as well. But at the same time, it's not as specific. March is very, very specific. It talks about the hard situation in a very metaphorical way. It's still very specific in the end. And that made it hard. It made it difficult. And it is definitely the song that is closest to my heart because of that. But I'm also glad that I did it because I think it paved the way for a new wave of songs where I can be really up close and up personal. I think Phoenix was kind of a song like that too. Definitely, it's one of my older songs. It's about 2 years old by now. It had some very specific things in there too, but I feel like it was more veiled. And I was not as public back then as I am now and as present, like publicly on social media platforms as I am now. So things were a little bit different then. I think that's why it was easier back then to put out songs that are very, very, very deep and potentially also very painful. I find inspiration to write songs honestly everywhere, or almost everywhere. Sometimes it's about me, sometimes it's about my daily life, sometimes it's about something that somebody close to me has gone through. Sometimes I am inspired by books or by movies, more so by movies usually than by books. But they're definitely part of that too. Sometimes just situations that I observe when I am traveling on the bus or on the train or something like that. I love getting inspiration from everywhere, all around me, all the time. It also means I never run out of inspiration. And yes, most of my songs are about me and about my life. So I need to keep making new experiences to keep creating new songs, but at the same time, I do take inspiration from elsewhere too. This is happy. The number one singing tip I would give is stay authentic to yourself. Don't take it too seriously. It's not that deep. And practice regularly. I think, yeah, obviously that's more than one tip, but keep working at it, keep at it in general. Just practice. And again, it's not that deep. Don't be too tense about it. Things with practice and with time, things will be okay. It's going to be fine. You're going to be an amazing singer. It just needs time. And you need to have that patience to get there. My zodiac sign is Cancer. I was born on the 15th of July. I am, as far as I remember, also a Cancer rising. So double Cancer. Yay! If you come with Cancer stereotypes, I'm going to tell you a lot of them are not actually true. Some of them obviously have a grain of truth. A lot of them are not actually true though. If you're a fellow Cancer, do you agree with that or not? Oh my gosh, I've done so many things that I originally found scary. It started out with just putting out my music or my covers on YouTube. That was really scary in the beginning. Another really scary thing was approaching a mastering engineer to master my music so I could put it out on streaming platforms. That was really scary, even though it was literally just an email I had to send. Then another thing was starting to do TikTok lives. That was also super scary at the beginning, but it ended up being just fine. Now I've been doing TikTok lives for a while and it really helps me grow my social media platforms. It really helps me experience like the pressure of you have to perform right now in the moment in front of an audience, when I can't necessarily always do that in person. So that is definitely very useful for me. Honestly, I would say that being a singer, it comes with a lot of smaller things that are really scary. And you have to get through each one of these smaller, scary steps. And together they create a larger step or lots of larger steps that in the end, when you look back at it, it doesn't actually seem that scary. Like all these things, if I have to do them again now, and a lot of them I have to do again, like obviously I put out YouTube covers all the time and YouTube videos all the time. I go live on TikTok 4 times a week. Of course, I have to talk to new people in the music industry regularly. And it's fine. It's not a big deal anymore. Things that used to be scary only a year or 2 ago, they're not actually scary anymore at all. Keep that in mind when you start following your dream. There will be scary things that you encounter. And it will be scary the first few times probably that you do them. But the more you do them, the less scary they're going to be. And at some point you're going to think, I was ever scared of that? Why? I play the guitar and the piano. I'm not an expert at either. So piano is an instrument that I taught myself, but guitar is an instrument that I started learning like a really long time ago. I also had some years where I played it in school. I went to a music high school where it was really actually pretty good back then. I haven't kept that up. Like I can still do some of the things obviously I learned back then, but not to the degree that I did back then. Nowadays, playing guitar for me is mostly to accompany myself when I do covers or when I do my lives, or just generally for my songs or when I'm writing a new song. But generally, I actually prefer writing my songs on piano these days because I just find it easier to do and quicker to do, and it suits me more for some reason. I don't know why, it just works better for me. Piano, I started teaching myself sometime around the start of the 2020 times, somewhere around there. I don't remember exactly, but you know, when we all stayed home a lot, around those times. Guitar I started learning for the first time when I was 9. Learned it for about 2 years, then there was a long break until I was 14. Then for 4 years I learned guitar, and then I had a really long break again after that until around 2019-ish, 2020. Hello, Debbie. My baby. The music genres that I listen to most are probably pop, K-pop, and rock music. I do listen to some R&B, some rap, some hip-hop, some classical music, some pop opera. I listen to a lot of different genres actually, but the main ones are the ones I listed at the beginning. Do listen most probably to BTS's solos, and to Taylor Swift. The dog is just turning around if you hear those sounds. This is a stone floor, like terracotta stones, and so you hear her little claws scratching against it when she turns a little bit. So yeah, I think those are the main artists that I listen to a lot. And I do listen to a lot of other K-pop groups too, but not as intensely as BTS. I also really like listening to Pink, to Alicia Keys, to some Beyonce, to some 80s rock music, particularly 80s rock, but also rock music from some other times. And I like listening to Voro, which is pop opera. I like classical music. Mozart and Bizet are my favorites. I listen to a lot of music, and I enjoy listening to diverse music, and I love when people give me recommendations from different genres that I maybe don't listen to as much, because it expands my horizon. As a songwriter and as a music producer, that is always a good thing. So I really like when people do that. Alright, so this was the puppy / senior dog interview for today, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you got a good few glimpses of Debbie, and see you back soon with another Patty Tries Fame episode. Bye bye! Patty Tries Fame or something.